Level 0. Perfect. Your statement reads $0. 3 days ago, you paid off $2,000 in furniture. Cash sitting in the bank the entire time. 0 interest, not a single day late. You did everything the system asked of you. Then your phone buzzes. On a random Tuesday, your score just dropped 25 points. You stare at the number and feel something that isn't guilt, because you didn't do anything wrong. You just don't understand why doing everything right produced a punishment.
Here's the part nobody explains. The Bureau isn't watching your life, it's holding a photograph. And the photograph gets taken on your messiest day, days before you've had the chance to clean the room. Your statement closing date, not your due date, is the shutter click. Whatever balance existed on that one specific day gets mailed off as permanent fact, even if you erased it completely a week later. You paid in full. The photograph disagrees, and the photograph is the only thing anyone else ever sees.
This is the part of the system nobody teaches you in school, and it isn't a rare glitch. It happens to the same responsible people every single month on a loop because they're all reading the wrong date off the calendar. Payment history takes years to repair. This one number resets in 30 days if you know which lever to pull. Level 1, 4%. You've learned the trick now. Pay down the balance 3 days before the statement cuts, not after the bill arrives in your inbox. This month, your card closes showing $10 instead of $800. You expect the algorithm to reward you for disappearing entirely. It doesn't. Not fully. A friend of yours runs a permanent 0 balance, pays everything off early every single month without exception. Proud of it. And quietly sits below you in score anyway. You assumed invisible was the goal. It turns out invisible reads as absent, and the algorithm doesn't trust people who never show up to be tested. It wants proof you can hold a little debt and let it go, not proof you've never touched it at all. The Bureau isn't watching your life. It's watching whether you can be trusted with rope. And a person who never picks up the rope looks identical on paper to a person who's simply never been tested. Level 2, 10%. This is the quiet middle, where most disciplined people land and stop thinking about it. You've killed autopay on due date and replaced it with one manual payment before the closing date. It takes 4 minutes a month. Your score sits comfortably north of 760 because almost a third of that score was never about whether you paid on time at all. It was about this one ratio. Weighted heavier than your credit history, heavier than your mix of accounts, heavier than almost everything except your payment record itself. You stop flinching every time you swipe for something large because you finally understand the calendar was never punishing your spending. It was punishing your timing. But comfort has a ceiling here. At 10%, you're safe. You are not exceptional. The people quietly sitting at 850 aren't spending less than you. They're reporting less than you, on purpose, every cycle. Running a method that looks less like restraint and more like a second job. One card left open at 1%, every other card driven to a hard 0 before the statement ever closes. They call it all 0 except 1. It reads as proof of use without a single flicker of risk, and it's the entire difference between good and exceptional. Level 2.5, the ghost limit. You decide to simplify. You close an old card you never use, the one with the $10,000 limit sitting untouched at 0. It feels like decluttering. 2 weeks later, your utilization on every remaining card jumps, not because you spent a cent more, but because the denominator just got smaller. The Bureau didn't see you pay anything down. It saw $10,000 of room disappear from underneath you, and it read that disappearance as risk. The card you thought was doing nothing for you was doing more work than any payment you ever made. It was ballast. Level 3, 30%. This is the cliff nobody warns you about until they've already gone over it. A family trip, booked on the card with the smallest limit, not the largest, because it happened to be the one sitting in your wallet that week. You didn't miss a payment. You didn't apply for anything new. The statement simply cut mid-trip, and the numbers sitting on that one page crossed a line the algorithm has memorized for decades. Your score doesn't dip here, it drops. The kind of drop that sends you searching for identity theft alerts before you ever think to check your own calendar. The Bureau isn't watching your whole life at level 3. It's watching one frozen frame of a single card. And it doesn't care that the rest of your wallet is sitting empty beside it. One maxed line reads as distress, no matter how healthy the surrounding picture looks. And unlike a late payment, this frame has no memory. It forgets by next month's photograph, which means the damage is real but never permanent, if you catch it in time.
Level 4, 100%. Somewhere past the cliff is the version of you who thinks they found a loophole instead of a trap. You max the card, pay it off, spend it again, pay it off again, 3 full cycles inside a single billing period. Technically never carrying a balance, technically never a day late. You expect the bank to notice your discipline. Instead, a letter arrives asking for your tax returns. To you, this looked like responsibility. To the risk department, it looked like someone pushing 3 times more exposure through a $1,000 line than the bank ever agreed to carry. The limit was never a suggestion. It was the exact amount of risk they were willing to hold on you. And you just told them 3 separate times in 30 days that you needed more than that. The Bureau was never watching your life. It was watching how much rope you kept asking for, and it remembers exactly how many times you asked, even when the balance itself forgets. Here's what nobody tells you back at level 0, staring at a bill you'd already paid in full. The system was never grading your honesty. It was grading a single photograph, developed on a date you never bothered to look up. The moment you find that date on your own statement and decide what it should show, you stop being a subject of the snapshot and start being the one holding the camera. If you want the exact calendar method for finding your own statement date, that's the next video. Subscribe so you don't miss it.